Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first session for ECS 3711. My name is Linda Stone. I am one of your lecturers for this module. With us, we also have two of the other lecturers, the module leader, who is Professor Robinson. And then we also have Miss Ifeoma Iwekbuna. Maybe she can help me correct with that surname. But a very warm welcome to you. Yes, Ifeoma.
That's okay. You got it a bit right.
Almost, but just with a bit of an accent.
Yes.
I will practice that. Let's make that a target for the next session.
No problem. That's
Good
fine.
afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, Mrs. Stone, Dr. Iwekunam. Welcome here.
Thank you, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone, too.
Thank you, Prof, and thank you. Right, so let me not delay you much further. This session is to just give you an overview of academic writing. So right now, you should be in the process of working through lesson 1. This session is not specifically based on lesson 1, but rather just to give you an idea and give you a few tips on how you should write as an academic. This is particularly important not only for your current undergraduate studies, but especially when you embark on, hopefully, on postgraduate studies in future. So what we have done for this lesson is we've created 3 recordings where we will discuss 3 major topics. The first one is just a few tips on academic writing, which hopefully you will find valuable. The second is on how to write a strong research paper. And then the third one, we are just going to touch on the big no-no in academics, and that is plagiarism and how to reference. So we'll be giving you a basic overview of this. This is not specifically included in your assessments, but just a basic general guideline for you to use throughout this module when you write. So hopefully that will help you and prepare you for your academic writing career. Right, so this session is being recorded, and we will make it available to you. Professor Robinson has created a YouTube channel where we will post this recording. So you can always go back to it and just go and review all the tips we've given you here. I assume all of you are aware then of all the links and the dates of the next sessions. For this session, you can also, if you want a bit more detailed understanding on academic writing and so on, then you can also just review chapter 4, which will be part of, I think it is lesson 6 as well. But you are most welcome to read through that again, just to give you an idea of an overview of academic writing. Right, so I am going to play you the first recording, and then I think once we have completed the 3 videos, Then I will open the floor if you have any questions that you would like to ask. I see there's already some questions in the chat. You can continue posting in the chat as well if you don't feel comfortable raising your hand, and then we will just respond to you there. Right, so I'm going to also just ask all of you to make sure, luckily you are muted, but please do not unmute yourself. It can be a bit distracting, except when we ask questions and it's your turn, then you are most welcome to unmute yourself. Right, so here's your first video on academic writing. All right. So that was our first recording on academic writing. I hope it gave you a bit of an idea of what is expected. A quote from Mark Twain comes to mind. Don't use a $5 word when a 50-cent word will do. And that's quite true in academics. And many experienced academics do the same. We often use very big words, and it's not really necessary. So do make sure that there is at least value in what you say, and that you're not just using all these big academic words just so it sounds like you know what you're saying. We are looking at the essence of what you really are saying. Right. So, and also quite important, we are looking for conciseness. You don't want to use too many words and over-explain yourself. Be direct and concise. Okay, I see we've got a hand from Google. We can quickly take your question before we move to the next recording. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning. I just want to ask on the concise one, right? It says that we should avoid unnecessary words. So the example that we were given there was startups represent an increasingly common form of business, and then being concise is startups are becoming more common. But how will I know that we're talking about business?
Well, it's going to depend on your specific context. If your writing is about business, then it's mostly going to be easy to assume that. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to you're going to have to give me some type of example, and then I can at least show you. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm giving you a good answer here.
No, I was asking based on what was given there under concise, but I saw that when I read the startups are becoming more common, is I would only assume, but I don't know if it's talking about business. So yeah, I just wanted clarity on being concise, like how should we go about being concise without taking out the informative part of our research or what we're writing about.
Okay, so when we look at conciseness, we don't want you to be broad. We want you to be quite on target on what you're saying. So let's say, for instance, we are talking about, I'm just going to use a different example because I don't want to spend time finding that slide now. Right, so let's say that let's use an example of business development in the, let's say, manufacturing industry. So in concise language, you might want to say there is increased economic growth in the manufacturing sector, right? We're saying exactly what we wanted to say. We're saying there's an increase of growth in the manufacturing sector, so that is quite concise. If it's not concise, then the sentence might go. In the manufacturing industry, where many people are unemployed, and some of the businesses are struggling, the growth is increasing. I think that's quite not concise enough. So what I've done there is I've given you a lot of information that, yes, they are useful, but they're not really they don't really serve the purpose of my sentence. What I really just wanted to say was that the manufacturing, or there's an increase in growth in the manufacturing sector. I did not need to talk about the unemployment. I didn't need to talk about anything else because that is not part of what I'm talking about specifically in this sentence. I hope that makes a bit more sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but you're most welcome to send me an email or send us an email if you want another example, or perhaps if you are struggling with a specific sentence, then we can maybe just try and correct you. It's quite important what the context is. So conciseness is, it's dependent on what your purpose is of that specific sentence and your writing. Right. Okay. Paul, I can quickly take your question, but then we have to move on to the next recording. We will have some time afterwards for more questions. You can unmute yourself, Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think mine is just a quick one. I just wanted to understand the use of I and we. That are we even allowed at any point in time to use I and we in our research, or is it not allowed at all? Thank you.
Well, it really depends on the field that you are in and the type of writing that you are writing. You will see that many academics do that. I would rather try to avoid it, because it kind of takes the objective viewpoint away when you do that. So it's usually accepted when there's more of an opinion statement or so on. But for academic writing, you try to remove yourself from your research and you would refer rather to this study instead of I and so on. So I would, in general, just avoid that completely. When you, I mean, I'm sure some of you might go into different fields. Then I would definitely recommend that you always ask your lecturer or supervisor whether that is something that they prefer. Okay, but on the safe side, you can just avoid that. Okay, so if you're happy with that, Mpo, I can then continue with the second recording. Right. So that's quite a lot to learn about writing. Um, just always remember, as you are still a novice, we won't expect you to be a seasoned writer yet, but we do want to give you these tips so that you can start learning and start applying some of these tips that we've given you. I've learned, I've used, and I think my colleagues will agree, the signposting is really valuable in writing a paragraph because you, when linking your sentences, it often feels a bit, scattered. You've got this sentence and then another sentence, and they don't connect. So that's where you use these signpostings, such as however or therefore, and so on, and they really become useful. And also learning to make each paragraph a specific topic. Do not mix them. One paragraph should give one message. Right, so I hope that helped you a bit. I'm going to play the last recording, which is luckily a short one, but also perhaps the most important one, because that is where we touch a bit more on plagiarism, which is really something that can become quite serious. So let me play you the last recording, and then we can take a few questions again before we end the session. All right. That was our last recording. I see Magugu has asked a question in the chat. She's asking, please explain self-plagiarism. Right. Self-plagiarism is, and believe it or not, you can plagiarize yourself. What we get at university level sometimes is that a student might submit an assignment which was submitted to another module, let's say ECS 3707, and then submits it to another module for a different assignment, for instance, ECS 3711. So that too is plagiarism. You cannot submit work that you've previously submitted elsewhere. In the academic context, when you are an experienced researcher, you cannot submit your work to one journal and then submit the same work to another journal. That also amounts to plagiarism. Right, so plagiarism is quite a difficult topic. I think especially, for a student starting out, we do understand that it's difficult to put it in your own words. It's not easy, but do know that it's not easy for any of your peer students. It wasn't easy for me when I started doing it. It is something that you learn over time. And when in doubt, cite. If you're not sure whether you should, then you probably should. I think one of the errors that we see students make, even on postgraduate level, is, firstly, not citing at all. Always cite. But in your text, when it is a direct quote, meaning that you're taking a sentence directly from someone else's book or article or so on, then it must be in quotation marks because you have literally copied and pasted that sentence. But then when citing, it's important for a direct quotation to always have the page number. If it's not a direct quote, then you don't need to give the page number, but you do need to cite the author and the year. The guide will also, on MyUNISA, will also give you that. And it's quite easy to just Google the Harvard reference. There are loads of great resources on that. So if you're unsure, just search for it and find out. And then if you still can't, then you can ask your lecturers. Right. So that is confusion usually that students have when it comes to direct quotes. It's also something that you have to try to avoid where possible. You cannot just paste direct quotes loosely. It's really a situation where you are completely unable to put it in your own words because the way in which that specific author has stated something is important and it cannot be changed. This is the way that it needs to be presented. It might also be a famous way of putting something. Then you need to definitely quote directly. So that's something that you get better over time. Practice makes perfect, but do put it in your own words. It is an art. It is something that you're going to have to learn, but it's definitely not impossible. Right. So, are there any other questions on the last two recordings? All right.
I'd just like to say that Mrs. Stone is actually busy with her PhD, and that is why I asked her to do the art of writing, because it's so important to get it right from the beginning, especially with the discussion forum activities that you're going to do throughout time, you know, and we'll try to keep you updated every second week. There is a schedule under additional resources. The Harvard method of referencing is also the guide. Please just go and look at it. It is under additional resources, and as she said, there's lots of nice sources also online. One thing that you should be aware of is also English, South African English and American English. Yes, Magugu.
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask on the amount of sources, of credible sources we are allowed to use, like in a research. Would one be enough, or I would need more to validate whatever point it is that I'm making?
I would recommend that we say, please use the textbook. And if you use the textbook, I would like to see a page number if you do use the textbook, and then at least 2 sources more. Okay, it depends. It depends on the question also. Okay. Not too much. Okay, because you're starting out. Let me see how many of you have public economics also. None
I
of
did
you.
it last year.
Okay.
Here's one.
David.
Yes, I also have a public economics.
Okay, so some of you have public economics, is that right?
Yes, we do have.
Yes. So it's good to take note, you know, of the art of writing. Yeah. I will also ask Mrs. Stone to make it available for people in public economics. You know, as she said, this can be used honors and even masters and PhD, especially the book also. The textbook is written in such a way that somebody told me yesterday they found so much joy out of the textbook. But I see you say the textbook is not available. Did you try Van Skyke bookstores?
I called them. Yeah, I called them. I started by checking their website. It was out of stock. Then I called them again, and they said they're still waiting for the arrival of the books. I'm not sure if they already received the stock or not.
Okay, but I will contact also the publishers today and just confirm. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Stone. That was really lovely.
Okay. So yeah, I think also something that I will do is maybe just to give a few examples of that concise writing, some sentences. I think that maybe that will also help you just to clarify that. So just have a look out on the additional resources. If that's fine with you, Prof, then I'll just give them a few examples.
Yes, fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so remember we've to post your to post on the forum for lesson 1. We'll be standing by to look at your responses there. And yeah, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again. Please do let us know if there are more questions. You do have our mailbox on the site. So thank you very much.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, ma'am. Will this video be posted? I joined late. Joined this class late. Will it be posted?
Yes, it will be posted. Just give us a day or two. It will be on Prof. Robinson's YouTube channel. There is a link on the welcome page where you may find it. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much and enjoy your week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.
Bye-bye, FOMO.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Prof.
Bye-bye, students.